I love shoujo manga a lot. For all the bullheaded shonen manga that I adore, I'm also an avid shoujo manga enjoyer as well. For almost a year now, whenever I'm laying in bed ready to go to sleep, I read a few chapters of whatever shoujo manga strikes my fancy. Usually it's a shoujo romance, but there are so many interesting variations of that it never really gets old. There's rarely any life or death stakes, but seeing teenagers try to navigate every facet of high school and their own identities is always such an enjoyable read to put me in a comfy mood to drift away to sleep. But to limit shoujo manga to just high school romance stories is such a limited frame of mind. Shoujo is as vast a demographic and genre as any other medium. Junji Ito's Tomie is a shoujo manga, the war epic Basara is a shoujo manga, all of Ai Yazawa's mature character dramas are shoujo manga. Even My Love Mix-Up is a shoujo manga despite having male main characters and a gay romance. Shoujo manga are vast and have some of my favorite moments in any manga, but also are an area that can always use another vocal defender, even if it just looks like
clocking into the Listen to Woman factory.
To get the brood of shoujo manga out of the way, I want to talk about what I love about the traditional shoujo romance stories. In ones like Fruits Basket, Daytime Shooting Star, Say I Love You, Ori Monogatari, etc., etc. Aside from being very easy reads due to the lower stakes than many other manga, a good shoujo romance can just hit all of my favorite notes. While, like most people, I'm not the biggest fan of misunderstanding plot points, I think most shoujo romance are not limited to those. They may be the biggest and most vocal gripe people have with it, but they are one that misses the forest for the trees. The appeal of a traditional shoujo high school romance is that many of these are stories of identity. High school is a time where we try to figure out and define ourselves as human beings. It's where we start carving away at what we want our future to look like, but are still wandering through the trenches of insecurity. Human beings are constantly changing, even and beyond high school, but their struggles are often timeless and can affect anyone regardless of their place in life. I love seeing the characters wavering as they try to understand themselves, even if it leads them to make mistakes. Because for each mistake they learn and grow towards becoming a better human being. To branch beyond high school romance for just a minute, Ai Yazawa is a master of this type of character. It rarely feels like a character makes a correct decision in any of their works, but it feels like with each choice they make, they grow and change, even if it feels like the wrong one at the time. I think that's the key difference in how misunderstanding plot, ironically, gets misunderstood a lot of the time. Sure, sometimes it is just filler, but oftentimes it's used for the main character to understand themselves and what they want out of a relationship better. It may seem like a mistake, but in the grand scheme of the plot, it is a moment of growth where they're finally able to communicate their true feelings. And this is only a piece of what makes shoujo manga so good. The other part of a good shoujo high school romance manga is the ever-looming future. To use a Naoko Yamada quote I've thought about a million times, high school fictional characters are standing at the entrance of the universe, with the vast world before them. For as much as I love a good romance story, I love when a shoujo manga really grapples with the passions and desires of their individual characters. I love Sadako grappling with what she wants to be when she grows up. I love Ozora focus on getting better at music, baseball, and really anything you put your mind to. For as much focus as a main romance needs, it ultimately can't forget that every character is their own unique person with their own desires and wants. Say I Love You and other shoujo manga like it are stories about coming out of your shell and attempting to self-actualize. A shoujo romance with just romance lacks the grit necessary to pull me along. I need to be invested in the characters of the romance even if they never end up with anyone at all. They need to get me to buy into them as a human being, and all the good ones do, whether it be by being the pure embodiment of kindness like Toru from Fruits Basket, or earnestly wanting to grow like Ishimori from Honey Lemon Soda. I love when a character actively seeks to root out misunderstanding after being unable to do it in the past. This isn't to say a good shoujo manga couple can't carry a story on its own, but most of the best examples I can think of are characters who are fantastically written, even apart from their couple status. They just also happen to be a really cute couple, and I love that. But ultimately, whether it's a conflicted love interest, a fun side character, or anything in between, good character growth will always win me over. Over all the shoujo high school romance manga I read, I'm always trying to broaden my horizons. My first foray into the broader strokes of shoujo manga came with Yumi Tamura's Basara. This isn't technically true because I watched a lot of shoujo anime before I knew what a shoujo series was or could be, but Basara was the first one I sought out with an actual understanding of shoujo manga and also as a manga. For a brief unpaid shortcut, the Viz app is such a fantastic service for getting into shoujo manga. There are so many classic works there that make getting into shoujo manga so much easier than many other things. Anyways, Basara is a fantastic story in so many different ways, and honestly a great bridge point for fans of fantasy settings to get into manga. I'd recommend it to someone who likes Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, alongside other manga like Berserk or Kingdom. Basara is somehow both a peak fantasy epic while also truly being a shoujo manga. The main romance and the way it conflicts with the plot from the very beginning is an absolute blast to read. Sarasa is such a strong protagonist as she grapples with every aspect of herself as Sarasa and as the leader of the whole army. She struggles with her identity while also becoming a leader who can confidently lead her forces into battle. It's got awesome battles while also having some of my favorite characters and manga panels ever put to the pen. I unabashedly love Hageha. He's such a cool, integral character who feels both ethereal and yet like he will lay his life down for Sarasa at any moment. His double life as Kicho only adds my love for him as a character. Him as Shuri, who is so fascinating, and this panel of him where he's just bloody and crawling out is probably one of my favorite manga panels ever. It cements his aura and also is just a great testament to how beautiful the art of Basara can be. For being a story where the main plot conceit for a large chunk of it is how the two enemy leaders can also be in love, it never feels contrived or too drawn out, and the inevitable clash between the two is more than enough to continue along on the warpath with them. If you want a shoujo manga not set in high school, Basara is right up your alley. If you want that but with more modern settings, anything Ai Yazawa has written will meet your needs. Ai Yazawa is by far my favorite shoujo mangaka. Few authors of any fiction ever can match the messy relatability of human beings as she can. Reading a manga like Nana can be a frustrating experience. As readers, we want these characters to make good decisions, but so often they don't meet our standards. But there's something profoundly resonant about these characters who are just wavering through life. Life's never this clean journey from start to finish, and to see characters struggle on their way is comforting. If they can survive through their messes, then so can I. Because for many of her characters, they are driven by leading a life backed by their passions. Whether it be music, fashion, or anything in between, her characters may feel aimless at times, but they never feel directionless. Yazawa may let her characters stop, but she never lets them stagnate. I'm constantly in awe at how she wades her characters towards their destinations. They have to weigh their choices every step of the way, but ultimately they move forward each time. It's always messy, but Ai Yazawa creates some of the most artfully crafted messes I've ever seen. But sometimes the messes just don't get resolved, and speaking of things never getting resolved, I need to talk about the anime adaptations of shoujo manga. It is genuinely incredible how so few shoujo manga have complete adaptations, good ones, or even ones that get more than a single season. The classics are starting to get the full adaptations they deserve, but by God, I need full adaptations of so many more. Half of them just kind of end, which makes it worse. They leave a second season door open, but one never appears. And this is apparently not a new thing, because how the hell does Basara only have a one core anime? One of the greatest shoujo manga ever suffered the same fate in 1998 as they do today. It is the same amount of episodes as the Say I Love You adaptation, and only one more than basically every other adaptation. Give me more for the love of God, it's all I want. I just want to see these manga that are often less than 100 chapters get a full adaptation. It's only like 4 cores max. Let them be made. You did it with Fruits Basket, you can do it again. It's frustrating how consistently they get screwed over, even if I know that ultimately their anime is just tools to boost the manga sales. And it worked. Or it would have if half the ones I wanted to read were licensed. The saddest feeling in the world is getting through a great shoujo manga, and then it just suddenly stops because the fan translation stopped, or there's no more of the official English translation. I've never considered learning Japanese more than when I get to that point and I just want to keep reading. Because I'm getting real close to the fine, I'll do it myself stage. Because I have too many shoujo manga I want to read, or finish reading but can't because there's just nothing else with an English translation out there. And to bring myself back to reality, it's this strong passion that shows just how good some shoujo manga can be. If it gets me so close to just learning Japanese to read more, I feel like that's a pretty good testament to the quality of these stories. I hope all of this adequately conveys my love of shoujo manga. I have so many more I could talk about in detail, but I think the ultimate appeal of shoujo manga to me comes from the resonance I feel with the characters. I found strength in Ono's earnest desire to get better at trumpet. It's a hard path to get better at something, but it's something we have to continue down if we ever want to improve. I find comfort in seeing characters like Ishimori or Tachibana come out of their shells and become stronger human beings. If you're able to look past the gender of a character, you can find so much of yourself in anything. You don't have to be a shonen-only reader or a shoujo-only reader. There's so many stories out there for each and every one of us to connect to. I love a good shoujo romance because it is in equal parts an easy read, but also one where suddenly I'll have my outlook on life changed because of the actions of a character. And for me, that's what experiencing art's all about. So for the love of God, please read some shoujo manga.